Hey, what's up guys, it's Colin 3D, and so today I'll be showing you how to use Blender. So this is what should happen when you start off. It'll show a cube and it'll be in like a new render. So there are a lot of controls and I'm gonna break it down to make it really easy. So okay, you start off with a cube. To select it, just click on it, left click. To delete it, you hit delete. If you want to go back, you hit Control Z. And so, yeah, there are a bunch of different modes up here. When you start off, you'll be in layout mode, and make sure to stay in there because there are a bunch of different modes: sculpting, modeling, UV editing, painting, animation, rendering, scripting, and a couple more. What you want to do to start off is you want to basically make a cube if it's deleted. So you want to hold down Shift and hit A, and a bunch of these options will pop up. So what you're going to do is go to Mesh and select Cube. Okay, so now to edit it, we're in object mode as you see up here, and we could go into edit mode and we could start editing it, doing a bunch of different stuff to it. There are a bunch of these buttons up here, and I suggest you get a mouse for your computer if you don't have one, because it's going to be really hard if you don't. So anyway, if you don't have a mouse, you could go up here and to like turn. And so if you do have a mouse, which I suggest you get, you could hold down the middle mouse button to like rotate your view, or to drag, you hold down Shift and then use your middle mouse button. Go back, and then if you select one of these, you'll go into the mode or the view, and you could see it as that view. Okay, so the main control, or the basic controls that you need to know: grab, to grab something or extrude it; delete, if you want to delete something; A, to select everything. And so once you have your cube here, you go into this mode. Actually, select the top first. If you can't select the top, if you can only like select the corners right here or anything, or the vertices, then you're not in faces mode. So you gotta go up here and select it. And then you could select your face that you wanna edit, and you could hit G to grab, and you could bring it in any specific direction. If you want to grab it along the y-axis, which is the green one, then you could hit GY. If you accidentally hit G or anything, you could just hit escape to get out of it. Or if you hit G and you accidentally clicked it, Control Z to go back, or Shift Control Z to go forward. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to extrude. Okay, so extrude is just E, and you could go along any axis, but it'll probably bring you up the Z axis because it wouldn't really make sense to go across the Y axis unless you want it like that, if you have a normal cube. And so another one that's really useful is scale. So if you have like the top piece of your cube, I'm just gonna delete it real quickly and spawn another one in. So if you selected that, you could scale it if you only selected the top, and you could turn it into like a pyramid if you want. And that's if you want, or you could just go back. you could also scale it along the y-axis. But remember, when you scale it across the y-axis or the x-axis, only the top is selected. So if you also held down shift and then click the bottom scale along the y-axis, actually out or in, since the top and the bottom are selected. If only the top was selected, you know, you can only do the top. But if both were selected, then you could do both. Okay, so, you know, scale across the x-axis, pretty much the same thing except along a different axis. Then there's the z-axis. If you'd scale across the z-axis, it would be up or down. And so if you want to create something, you could just use some of those basic controls. So let's say I could just make a robot or something. Select two sides and scale Y. Then I could go up here and I could extrude it up. I could select those two, scale it down, but since those are selected, it would connect to there, and so that's why I would drag the whole thing. So if I wanted to scale it, it could select the top and then do that. I'm just going to scale it across the y-axis for a neck. Now I'm going to extrude. So now I'm going to extrude a tiny bit. And I'm going to scale it. And I'm going to extrude it more. Or if you want to extrude it even more, you could just go a little bit higher. So this doesn't really look like a robot, but I'm just basically teaching you how to make anything. So now you could go down here, and so if you want to split this into two parts, Control R, then you could select it, you could drag it over, or if you want it in the middle, you could just hit escape, or you could Control Z if you want to go back. Control R could, since we're making legs, could split it in half. But as you see, if I selected both of them, then it wouldn't really look like legs, it would just be a line through the middle. So what you would do to get out of that, first off, you shouldn't have the line there, so you could just Control Z back, Control R, and go like that, and try to Control R again, and try to make it look about identical on both sides. Doesn't look exactly identical, so I'm gonna redo it. Now it's identical. So I'm gonna select face, these two faces, go right here. I'm gonna extrude, it's gonna go down. So this looks nothing like a robot, and I know that's fine. So to make it look more like legs, I'm gonna do this, so the legs could be more towards the middle. Now I can extrude the legs. And so now they look more like legs. So I'm going to extrude them a little bit more to make them longer. And so now if I want to make the feet, I could just do that. Then I could go into faces, select, do those two, then I could extrude. And so since it looks kind of weird, if you want it to do like a little bit of a curve over there, what you could do is you could go over here to bevel, you could select, go into that mode, then you could select that, then you could bevel it. Try not to do it too much. And over down here, if you see bevel, it says about 0.1, so you could change it to about 0.1 if you want it to be exact. And you could do it on the other side, and you could type in exactly 0.1, so it'd be identical on both sides. Okay, so now that we have the feet, we go up here and make the arms. Control R, Control R again. And so as you can see, whenever we select something, that's still going to show up, so we got to go up here and click select box. So we're going to make arms now, so I'm going to extrude it. We got to select both sides. Y, go up a little bit with shift middle mouse. Extrude on the x-axis. As you can see, it only goes up one side, so we have to do one side at a time. So extrude, try to get the exact number. So let's do about 1.5. Type that in. Now if you go to the other side, extrude 1.5. Okay, so now we can bevel it again. Select that and go down here to bevel. If I beveled it too much, you could just Control Z. Okay, let's do about 0.1. Until we'll do the same thing over here. Drag it out a random amount and type in 0.1. And so since we want to make the hands now, we would do Control R, then we'd bring it over right there. Now we try to do the same on the opposite side. And since we're still in bevel, that would show up. So we're just going to go into select box. And so if you would extrude it, then you notice that fingers wouldn't spawn. So we'd go back, Control R, and we would make a couple of these. And as you can notice, the fingers would turn out a little bit weird if you made it like that. So I'm just gonna go back and so Control R to make the finger space a little bit smaller, like that. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. There. Now we're gonna do more Control R's to make it look better. So if we made 4 lines, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. And go into box. 1, 2, 3. Then it would do 3 fingers. If you would want to go any more than 3 fingers, then you'd have to Control R and do a couple more of them. And so now that we have all these selected, we could extrude, and it would turn out like that. Now I know it looks pretty weird, but to fix it, we could select that. Select that also. Now we could try to scale it down the y-axis, or we could grab on the y-axis to make the arms look skinnier. So yeah, that's basically the main part of a robot. And so I'm just going to select this right here, the neck, and then I'm going to scale it down on the y-axis. Or I could just grab it down a little bit. Which actually I don't think that would work well. So I'm just going to do scale down the y-axis. I'm going to grab down a little bit on the y-axis. Now I'm going to select the head. So yeah, I'm just going to select the main part. Now I'm going to grab Y to bring it down a little bit to make it look more like a robot. Okay, so now that we have the fingers and it looks weird and all that stuff, you could fix that later with most of the controls I show you, but I'm just trying to sum it up fast. Since we're in edit mode, if you hit Shift A, you would only have the mesh options. So we can select everything, go back into object mode, and we could have all the options: curve, surface, mesh, text. Okay, so we're gonna go over here to UV sphere, and you notice it kind of pops up really big. So we're gonna shrink it down a lot. So now we're gonna grab it, y-axis, try to get it from a different angle and grab it a little bit more. Now we're gonna grab it on the z-axis, and it would look like a dude with one eye. Now we're gonna G, Z, GX. Now for some reason Control C and Control V wasn't really working, but now it is, so I'm just gonna Control C while the sphere is selected, then Control V, then I'm gonna grab it, and as you can see I have another one, so I'm just gonna grab it into original position and go on the x-axis over here. So now it looks about identical on both sides. And so we have the main part of a robot. And so if you'd select everything and go into edit mode, if you'd like to make the antennas or whatever, just be creative. Could, you know, make a bunch of random stuff. Anyway, so that's basically been my tutorial on how to do it. Okay, so over here, if you went to add modifier, you could hit mirror. You could go across any axis that you'd want. And so the x-axis would basically make it identical on both sides. You should probably do that at the beginning if you want to. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. And yeah, so that's basically going to be my whole tutorial on how to do this. If you want it to be completely identical, go to add modifier, mirror, and then select which axis you want it to go on. If you do it the y-axis, it would go from here over that way, so I wouldn't suggest that unless you would start it off on that axis. Then there's the z-axis, which would just flip it upside down, which would look really weird. And so, yeah, the y-axis, which is a normal one. So, yeah, that's basically been my tutorial. This is how I've made a lot of things on Blender, like the Octane, and a bunch of other designs that I haven't really showed you yet. But I would really suggest Blender if you haven't downloaded it yet, because you could do a bunch of different things on it. You could do sculpting, which is really cool. You could like make small designs on the back or whatever, or just, use your imagination, make a bunch of stuff. Just painting, got animation, got scripting, we got a bunch of different stuff. So Blender is useful for a bunch of different things, so I highly suggest it. And thank you for watching, and that's been my tutorial. So hope you're having a great day. Please subscribe and hit the like button and notification bell if you want to get any updates on my latest videos. And bye.